everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Perpetuality. Collecting watches has always been about experiencing the different areas of watchmaking, and that includes the ultra affordable. I know that term can be relative to the person, but I really mean how much value can a manufacturer pack into a watch. And today we have here the Berny AM139, which is a compressor of sorts, similar to the JLC Polaris and the Longines Legend Diver. I think this watch has rather impressive specifications. When I first created this channel, I wanted to experience as many different varieties of watches as possible to formulate my own thoughts and opinions on them to share with you guys. And that also includes ultra affordable watches, and homage watches really push the envelope for value for money, features, and quality. They are the true champions in that category. Therefore, let's get into it. The numbers do matter, and they definitely matter in the case of this watch being a large 41.5mm case, 13.3mm in case depth, 22mm lug width, and from wingtip to wingtip it measures around 48.9mm. As much as I like domed sapphire crystals, I do think that a flat sapphire crystal is more effective at cutting down on dial reflections, and the one that we have here is a great quality sapphire crystal. I couldn't confirm from the description whether or not it had AR coating, but I can tell you right now that legibility is not an issue with the sapphire crystal that's been used on this watch. On the back side of the watch, you will also get a sapphire crystal for the exhibition caseback, which is a nice touch. Seldom will you see a sapphire exhibition caseback used in watches that can cost 4 to 5 times more, and this is among many of the few small pleasant surprises that make up this watch. Another area that was a surprise for me is the lume. Using BGW9 lume and fairly generous in application, the applied indices do light up, and it's a consistent glow. However, I find that the longevity of the lume could be better and longer. It pales in comparison to a San Martin. I do not mean the company any disrespect when I say this, but when I see the name Berny on the dial, it reminds me of an in-law of some sort. That's something that I wish maybe they could have improved upon, perhaps even choose a name that's more relevant to horology. A very pleasant surprise to me is the case being 316L steel that's hardened to 600 HV on the hardness Vickers scale, which means it's nearly 3 times tougher than conventional 316L steel, putting it just above Seiko's Diashield coating. The finishing is remarkable, being mostly brushed on the side of the case with very fine brushing at this price point of watch. Breaking up the brushed surfaces is the polished bezel and the side chamfers of the lugs that have been delicately cut out and genuinely very well done for a watch at this price. Let me preface by saying that this is not an oyster case. You don't have curves here, you have large flat metal surfaces. The watch is most elegant from the view dead on, where you can see how thin the lugs are relative to the big opening of the dial. The rubber strap is seamlessly integrated into the case, where it's curved meeting the lugs. There is very little, if not any play in the rubber strap and the spring bars at all. However, my issue with the rubber strap is that it extends the lug-to-lug length of the watch to nearly 56mm. And that means on my 6.5 inch wrist, it's right at the extremities, the upper and lower bounds of what my wrist can handle. If you have a wrist smaller than 6.5 inches, you'll have some difficulty with comfort and wearability of this watch. If you can get past the lug-to-lug length with the rubber strap, you'll have a very nice watch. In terms of comfort of the rubber strap, it is phenomenal on the wrist. Now, I'm no stranger to large watches. My daily driver is the Longines Zulu Time that I have worn quite extensively. It is 42mm wide and nearly 51mm lug-to-lug length. But even then, I think the on-the-wrist feeling of the Berny AM139 is larger than the Longines itself. Powering the watch is the Miyota 8205 movement that beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It is actually hackable, and much to my surprise, it has a metal movement holder, which adds to the overall heft and solidity of the watch. A standout feature of compressor-style watches is the internal rotating bezel, and the one for the Berny AM139 is actually bidirectional. There are odd, soft clicks, very muted if I must say. I can't really get the sense of solidity behind it or detents. However, I'm happy to report that it lines up perfectly, so it's a little bit better than a Seiko in that regard. The crown is a good functioning screw down crown that lends to 200 meters of water resistance. By pulling out the first setting, you're able to adjust the date and the day, and pulling it out to the second adjustment, you're adjusting the time. The crown is the weak point of this watch for me. It is not easy to screw down. Multiple attempts reveal that you have to go slow, and even reverse thread to catch the first thread of the crown tube. That to me could be improved upon. At this point, it's become very clear that the money was spent on the parts where we interact with the watch. That would be the case and the rubber strap, being a very high quality rubber strap that does not attract lint in any way. The dial is very reminiscent of the JLC Polaris, made up of multiple layers and sections, the center part of the dial being lighter colored than the outer ring where the indices are, and then the darkest part being the bezel itself, where there is contrast to break up the different colors of the dial. I'm happy to report that on a macro scale, the dial does hold up in quality. This is at 4 times macro. Most of the Swiss-made watches I've reviewed at this level would have some flaws. Of course, it's not perfect on this $150 dive watch. However, it does hold up really well with the Seikos and Citizens and Orients of the world. The hand stack and the hands themselves are relatively clean and have been done to a very, very impressive degree of detail. Up close on a 4 times macro level, there's hardly any flaws that I can make out with my eye. Never mind, you're seeing it on the wrist, you would never see any of the things you see here. Even the printing itself has been done very well, sharp, to the extent where at 4 times macro, I can make out the little grains that comprise of the numerals on the bezel. All in all, I think this is a very impressive dive watch for not too much money at all. And if you're interested in this watch, please check out the description below. There's more details there for you. Thank you so much for checking out my channel today. If you want to see more watch content, and I'm starting to feature more watches in the ultra affordable range, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. It really, really helps out, and it helps me continue to do this.